8:45 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by J. Yogaraj and read by Mario Vijayawardena. The headlines. The island-wide travel restrictions further extended until June 14th. Fishing activities from Panadura to Negombo temporarily suspended. The provision of the 2,500 rupee allowance to the preschool teachers is being carried out successfully. Sri Lanka records 2,568 new COVID cases. Over 1,500 more coronavirus recoveries reported today. Sinopharm vaccinations to begin in 12 more districts next week. In news overseas, the Israeli opposition faces deadline to form a new government. In sports news, Manchester City midfielder Phil Foden has been nominated for Player of the Year and Young Player of the Year awards. The Army Commander General Shavindra Silva says that the island-wide travel restrictions will be further extended until June 14th. He states that the travel restrictions which are currently in effect and had been initially extended until June 7th will now remain in force until 4 a.m. on June 14th. Accordingly, the island-wide travel restrictions will not be lifted on June 7th as announced previously. The Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources has advised the fishermen to temporarily suspend all fishing activities in the sea areas extending from Panadura to Negombo via Colombo with immediate effect. The fishing activities have been suspended following the salvage company involved with the Express Pearl vessel indicating that the vessel is sinking at the current position. The fishing boats could face the risk of colliding with the debris of the distressed ship and thus have been advised not to go out for fishing activities, it said. The department has also suspended vessels entering the Negombo Lagoon. Meanwhile, State Minister Kanchana Wijesekara said that all the preventive measures have been taken to protect the Negombo Lagoon and the adjoining sea areas and to contain the damage from any debris or in the case of an oil spill. The provision of the 2,500 rupee allowance to preschool teachers is being carried out successfully. State Minister P.L. Nishanta said the allowance has been increased taking into consideration the present situation. The amount has been increased due to the present COVID-19 situation in the country. The minister also said that a national policy on preschool education will be drafted in the future. A 600,000 rupee allocation for the development of each preschool has been a major success in this process, the minister added. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Receive early cash advances and an unmatchable bonus at maturity from Sri Lanka Insurance Early Cash.
Sri Lanka has registered 2,568 fresh cases of the novel coronavirus today, the Ministry of Health confirmed. All the new cases are associated with the New Year COVID-19 cluster. This brings the total number of COVID-19 cases confirmed in the country thus far to 191,809. As per reports, 29,568 virus-infected persons are being currently treated at designated hospitals and treatment centres across the island. Meanwhile, the number of total recoveries reached 160,714 earlier today. The Ministry of Health reports that another 1,504 coronavirus patients have been discharged after complete recovery today. This brings the total number of COVID-19 recoveries in the country to 160,714. The tally of the COVID-19 positive cases reported in the country so far is 189,241, while 27,000 infected patients are currently under medical care. Meanwhile, the death toll due to the virus is 1,527. Sinopharm vaccinations will begin in 12 more districts with effect from June 8th ahead of the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of the COVID-19 outbreak, General Shavindra Silva announced. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has directed the health authorities to prioritise three groups: people over the age of 60, pregnant women and the public sector employees in the inoculation drive. The Army Commander said further, delivering a special statement today. Thereby, the first dose of Sinopharm vaccines will be administered in the following districts: Matale, Nuwara Eliya, Kagalla, Trincomalee, Hambantota, Badulla, Anuradhapura, Puttalama, Ampara, Battikalow, Monaragala and Polonnaruwa. The Army Chief noted that the Grama Niradhari divisions that are at high risk for COVID-19 infections in the aforesaid districts will be selected for the inoculation program. Earlier today, the State Minister, Production, Supply and Regulation of Pharmaceuticals, Professor Channa Jayasumana, revealed that Sri Lanka is expecting 2 million doses of the China-developed Sinopharm coronavirus vaccine early June. The first batch of this consignment containing 1 million Sinopharm jabs is scheduled to arrive in the country on June 6th. In the meantime, the rest of the jabs are expected to be delivered on June 9th. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has issued directives to tow the fire-stricken MV Express Pearl ship out to deep seas. The decision was taken at a special meeting chaired by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa yesterday to discuss the steps needed to be taken regarding the Singapore-registered container ship destroyed by the fire. The Minister of Ports and Shipping, Rohit Abegunawardena, presented all the details on the ship's journey from the United Arab Emirates on the 9th of May to the arrival of the ship near the port of Colombo on the 19th. Representatives from a number of sectors, including the Navy, shipping and environmental bodies, pointed out at the meeting that the ship is at risk of sinking. In this case, they suggested the best course of action would be to take the ship to the deep seas to minimize the possible damage to the marine environment. Accordingly, effective measures have been taken to move the ship into the deep sea. The process has already begun. That's local news.
Finished? You have 1 more hour to write the exam.
Yes, sir. Always early.
Receive early cash advances and an unmatchable bonus at maturity from Sri Lanka Insurance Early Cash.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Army Commander General Shavindra Silva says that the island-wide travel restrictions will be further extended until June 14th. He states that the travel restrictions, which are currently in effect and had been initially extended until June 7th, will now remain in force until 4 a.m. on June 14th. That was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And now in Watchlight, consumers complain about the price hikes of some essential goods at some private sales outlets. This has caused immense difficulties to the low-income families. Consumers also complain that certain errant traders are exploiting the situation of the travel restrictions and are increasing the prices at their will. This is for the attention of the Consumer Affairs Authority. That came to you in Watchlight. And now in world news headlines, Israel's opposition faces deadline to form a new government. South China Sea dispute, Malaysia accuses China of breaching airspace. Xi Jinping calls for more lovable image for China in bid to make friends. Israeli opposition leaders say they are close to forming a new government that would end Benjamin Netanyahu's 12-year stretch as prime minister. The head of the centrist Yesh Atid party, Yair Lapid, has until midnight to form a coalition. However, he has yet to reach a final agreement with Naftali Bennett's right-wing nationalist Yamina party. Mr. Bennett is expected to become the prime minister ahead of Mr. Lapid under rotation arrangement. Malaysia says it is to summon China's ambassador after 16 Chinese military aircraft flew over disputed waters off its eastern state of Sarawak. Fighter jets were scrambled to intercept the transport planes on Monday after detecting suspicious activity over the South China Sea. Malaysia's foreign ministry described the maneuver as a serious threat to national sovereignty. China, however, said its aircraft had abided by international law. China's president has said he wants the country to expand its circle of friends by revamping its image. Xi Jinping told senior Communist Party officials it was important to present an image of credible, lovable and respectable China, according to a report by state-run news agency Xinhua. It marks a possible shift in China's diplomatic approach, which analysts say has become increasingly antagonistic. And now the main points of the world news segment once again. Israel's opposition faces deadline to form a new government. South China Sea dispute. Malaysia accuses China of breaching airspace. Xi Jinping calls for more lovable image for China in bid to make friends. That was world news, and now in development news, a national tourism policy framework will be designed and drafted in the near future. A process of gathering views from stakeholders and professionals has already commenced for this purpose. The main objective of this whole exercise is to build the industries to meet the present market challenges. It is expected that the proposed tourism policy framework would pave the way for more job opportunities with the promotion of the other related industries. That was development news.
Sports News is brought to you by...
When Aya bought a motorbike, he bought 2 helmets. So sweet of him. I'm sure the other one is for me.
In whatever we do, we Sri Lankans are always thinking of others. When we get Munchie Super Cream Crackers, they're not just for ourselves. Munchie Super Cream Cracker. Super kiyanne nikang neve.
In soccer news, Manchester City midfielder Phil Foden has been nominated for the Professional Footballers Association Men's Players Player of the Year and the Young Player of the Year awards. Premier League champion City dominate the nominations for the Senior Award with Ilkay Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne and Ruben Dias also in contention. Manchester United's Bruno Fernandes and Tottenham striker Harry Kane complete the shortlist. The winners will be revealed on Sunday.
My wife always sets a full lunch table even if it's just the 2 of us. She always expects people to drop by, like maybe the army.
In whatever we do, we Sri Lankans are always thinking of others. When we get Munchie Super Cream Crackers, they're not just for ourselves. Munchie Super Cream Cracker. Super kiyanne nikang neve.
Contributory deposit of ₹1,000 from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
First Capital Holdings PLC recorded a consolidated profit after tax of 2.9 billion rupees for the financial year 2020-2021. The results show a significant growth compared to consolidated profit after tax of 1.07 billion rupees recorded in the previous year. The total comprehensive income recorded for the year 2020-2021 is 2.01 billion rupees compared to 1.04 billion rupees reported in the previous year. Meanwhile, the company's financial position remains strong with total assets of 36.7 billion rupees and equity in excess of 4.8 billion rupees. That was Business News.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of ₹1,000 from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Sri Lanka is looking to save 1,290 gigawatts of electricity by implanting a series of new energy-saving technology solutions by 2025, the chairman of the Sri Lanka Sustainable Energy Authority, Ranjit Sepala, said. He was delivering the keynote address at a conference hosted by AHK Trade Mission to Sri Lanka comprising of 8 German companies who have expressed a strong interest in the Sri Lankan energy market. That was Economic News.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue in partnership with the Ministry of Education introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
The Met Department says showers will occur at times in the western, Sabaragama and the central provinces and in the Gala and Mathura districts. Fairly heavy falls, about 50 millimeters, can be expected at some places in the western and the Sabaragama provinces and further in the Gala, Mathura and Nuwara area districts. Showers, thundershowers may occur at several places elsewhere during the evening or night. The general public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize the damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during the thundershowers. This weather report was issued this evening at 7:30 p.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue in partnership with the Ministry of Education introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And now the headlines of this news broadcast once again. The island-wide travel restrictions further extended until June 14th. Fishing activities from Panadura to Negombo temporarily suspended. The provision of the 2,500 rupee allowance to the preschool teachers is being carried out successfully. Sri Lanka records 2,568 new COVID cases. Over 1,500 more coronavirus recoveries reported today. Sinopharm vaccinations to begin in 12 more districts next week. In news overseas, Israeli opposition faces deadline to form a new government. In sports, Manchester City midfielder Phil Foden has been nominated for Player of the Year and Young Player of the Year awards. That concludes this news broadcast.